Hey guys.
Very disturbing to hear these things or to kind of see some of the receipts that appear to be connected to it. And I think the taxpayers really deserve it.
Buckle up, because Tiffany Henyard, the self-proclaimed super mayor of Dolton, Illinois, is launching what might be one of the most chaotic re-election campaigns in recent memory. With approval ratings in the dismal single digits, an ongoing FBI investigation, an eviction lawsuit from her former landlord, and widespread discontent among residents, Henyard's leadership is under fire. Yet, undeterred by these challenges, she's pressing forward with a campaign that many describe as a surreal mix of political drama and reality TV chaos. Despite the controversies and growing frustration in Dolton, Henyard seems determined to hold on to power, turning her re-election bid into an unpredictable spectacle that's as bizarre as it is desperate. Take, for example, Tiffany Henyard's infamous turkey giveaways leading up to Thanksgiving. While some residents appreciated the gesture, many saw it as a desperate attempt to distract from Dolton's mounting financial crisis. Trustee Christopher Gonzalez openly questioned the mayor's motives, asking why there was such urgency to push through agenda items without a quorum. Critics argue the turkey giveaway was nothing more than political theater designed to obscure the township's dire fiscal mismanagement. Financial woes have become a central issue in Henyard's campaign, with residents demanding accountability for the town's rising debt and unexplained budget shortfalls. Reports of extravagant spending, including out-of-town trips and an eye-popping $43,000 spent on Amazon purchases in a single day, have only heightened public outrage. While Henyard defends the expenditures as necessary for township programs, many see them as part of a troubling pattern of misusing taxpayer money for personal gain. And it's not just the finances fueling discontent. The mayor's leadership is under scrutiny on multiple fronts, with residents demanding transparency and change. Tiffany Henyard's leadership style has been widely described as authoritarian, with growing accusations of intimidation and retaliation. Local business owners have alleged being strong-armed into making political donations, with those who refuse reportedly facing fabricated violations or revoked licenses. One such case involved Lawrence Gardner, whose trucking company was shut down after he declined to contribute to Henyard's campaign, a move he believes was orchestrated to punish him for not complying. Gardner, like others, has reportedly shared his story with federal investigators, further deepening the scrutiny on Henyard's already embattled administration. Adding to the controversy, Henyard's attempt to fill a vacant trustee seat following Jerry Jones's resignation has only fueled more political drama. Another controversy centers on trustees Christopher Gonzalez and Carvin Carlisle, who have refused to attend meetings, effectively paralyzing the board by denying a quorum. Their position is clear. The decision to appoint a new trustee should rest with voters, especially with township elections just around the corner. Henyard, however, is determined to fill the seat before a December deadline, after which the appointment process would shift to a public vote, a scenario she appears desperate to avoid. Critics accuse her of attempting to stack the board with loyalists who will rubber stamp her controversial spending plans, a charge she strongly denies. In a heated Facebook Live rant, Henyard lashed out at her detractors, branding them of conspiring to ruin her reputation. I sue everybody, she declared, because I'm coming for defaming my name, defaming my character. In this conspiracy to destroy Tiffany Henyard, I will come for everyone. Tiffany Henyard's threats of legal action have done little to silence the growing calls for her resignation, as frustrated residents pack board meetings to demand accountability. "This is an embarrassment to Dolton," one resident said. "Why won't you step down?" But stepping down is not on Henyard's agenda. Instead, she presses forward, clinging to the belief that her super mayor persona can weather the storm. Whether it's sheer determination or a refusal to face reality, one thing is clear: Tiffany Henyard's re-election campaign is shaping up to be one of the most chaotic and unpredictable political sagas Dolton has ever witnessed.
Tiffany Henyard actually has two political jobs on two public payrolls, as mayor of South Suburban Dolton, or as she calls.
Snow removal efforts in Dolton under Tiffany Henyard's leadership have become a stark symbol of neglect and mismanagement, leaving residents frustrated, angry, and questioning her commitment to the community. As winter storms pummeled the township, turning roads into treacherous icy hazards, residents were left stranded, forced to navigate dangerous conditions with little to no support from their local government. Streets remained uncleared for days, transforming once active neighborhoods into virtual obstacle courses. Complaints poured in as residents reported accidents, injuries, and delays caused by the hazardous conditions. Yet, while Dolton citizens struggled amid the icy chaos, Henyard's response seemed indifferent at best and dismissive at worst. Instead of taking immediate action to ensure her constituents' safety, Henyard was notably absent from crisis management, further fueling public outrage. Instead of addressing the crisis, Tiffany Henyard opted to maintain an active presence on social media, posting self-promotional content, selfies, and updates unrelated to the pressing issues in Dolton. This stark contrast to the reality on the ground, a township paralyzed by icy, unplowed roads, highlighted a desperate need for leadership and action. For many, this wasn't just poor planning or administrative oversight, it was seen as blatant disregard for the safety and well-being of the residents she was elected to serve. Adding to the frustration, neighboring communities facing the same severe weather managed to clear their streets and restore normalcy, highlighting Dolton's inefficiency and lack of preparedness. The failure became even harder to justify given Henyard's frequent claims of a multi-million-dollar budget surplus, raising serious questions about how a township with such resources could fail so spectacularly at something as basic and essential as snow removal. Critics argue this debacle is yet another example of Henyard's inability to deliver effective governance, further eroding trust in her leadership. This snow removal debacle is part of a larger pattern of neglect and mismanagement, where essential services are sidelined in favor of self-promotion and personal ambition. Trustees, already frustrated with Henyard's handling of the township's finances and governance, pointed to the snow removal failure as yet another example of her inability to prioritize the needs of the community over her own agenda. Public meetings saw an increase in attendance, with residents growing angrier and demanding accountability and answers. Some even called for Henyard's resignation, further highlighting the growing dissatisfaction with her leadership. Calls for Tiffany Henyard's resignation have intensified, with many labeling her leadership as not just incompetent, but dangerously out of touch with the realities facing Dolton residents. "We're out here risking our lives, and she's posting on Facebook," one resident lamented during a heated town hall meeting. In response, Henyard attempted to deflect blame, suggesting that the challenges were caused by unforeseen circumstances and logistical hurdles. However, this explanation did little to placate the growing discontent, as many saw it as just another excuse rather than a genuine effort to address the issue. As Dolton continues to recover from the winter crisis, the snow removal fiasco serves as a stark reminder of the leadership struggles plaguing the township, leaving residents wondering if they can ever expect real change under Henyard's administration.
From federal entities. Those entities, as we know, can take anywhere from 2 months to 5 years. So we feel this option.
Tiffany Henyard's relationship with local churches and businesses has been far from harmonious, with many accusing the Dolton mayor of using her position to exert power and control rather than fostering growth and community well-being. Numerous business owners have come forward, detailing obstructive tactics that make it nearly impossible to secure permits, licenses, or basic approvals needed to operate. One particularly damning account comes from Lawrence Gardner, a local trucking company owner who claims his business was effectively shut down after he refused to contribute a substantial sum to Henyard's campaign. "What is she, Mayo Brown?" Gardner remarked, drawing a comparison to the notorious drug kingpin from New Jack City, underscoring the atmosphere of intimidation and coercion that has come to define Henyard's administration. For many, this isn't just poor governance. It's an outright abuse of power, with Henyard seemingly prioritizing personal gain and political survival over the needs of the community, over the needs of Dolton struggling. The fallout from these tactics has been significant, with public outrage reaching a fever pitch. Residents, already frustrated by ongoing issues like financial mismanagement and deteriorating public services, are fed up with what they see as Henyard's self-serving leadership style. At town hall meetings and public forums, frustrations boil over as citizens demand accountability and action. "This is an embarrassment to Dolton. Why won't you step down?" One resident shouted during a recent meeting, a sentiment echoed by many others in the room. The anger is palpable, with residents not just disappointed but furious at the state of their community. Many feel betrayed, having placed their trust in a leader they now believe has repeatedly failed them. "She's power-hungry," one resident fumed, She doesn't care how much she bleeds this town dry of resources. This sense of betrayal is deepened by what many perceive as Henyard's unwillingness to address the growing crisis. Instead of acknowledging the concerns of her constituents or offering solutions, critics argue that Henyard continues to prioritize her own agenda, often doubling down on decisions that further alienate the community. The strain extends beyond businesses to local churches, which have also faced challenges under her leadership. Religious leaders who once played a vital role in supporting and uplifting the community now find themselves at odds with a mayor they believe has lost touch with the people. The once vibrant relationship between the administration and these community pillars has withered, replaced by suspicion and frustration. As Dolton residents grapple with the fallout from Henyard's leadership, many are left wondering how much longer their town can endure the chaos. Calls for her resignation grow louder with each passing day as citizens demand new leadership that prioritizes transparency, accountability, and genuine community engagement. The general sentiment is clear. Dolton deserves better, and the time for change is long overdue.
Getting wrapped up early because two trustees, as you mentioned, did not show up. Chris Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle. Without them, not enough board members were present to make official decisions.
The FBI investigation into Tiffany Henyard's administration casts a dark cloud over her re-election bid in Dolton, Illinois, as federal agents continue to probe records related to the alleged misuse of taxpayer funds and questionable contracts tied to Dolton and Thornton Township. Despite Henyard's vehement denials of any wrongdoing, the investigation persists, intensifying the scrutiny on her political future and making her campaign feel more like a desperate attempt to hold on to power and avoid potential criminal charges. Dolton residents, long frustrated by financial mismanagement, unexplained budget deficits, and accusations of cronyism under her leadership, are growing more vocal in their demand for change. Public outrage continues to swell, with many criticizing Henyard's administration for prioritizing personal gain over the community's well-being. Town meetings and social media platforms are flooded with calls for her resignation, while reminders of her narrow victory in the last election fuel efforts to unseat her and usher in new leadership. Critics argue that Henyard's leadership reflects systemic failures in local governance, with some questioning why state officials have allowed her to remain in power despite numerous red flags. As Election Day approaches, the question remains, will Dolton's voters finally demand accountability and bring an end to Henyard's controversial tenure, or will she manage to cling to power amid the chaos and scandal surrounding her administration? The stakes are high, and residents are increasingly mobilizing to ensure their voices are heard in what promises to be a pivotal election. The ongoing legal battles, mounting financial problems, and growing public animosity toward Henyard make her re-election prospects increasingly slim. Her attempts to deflect blame, bizarre campaign tactics, and blatant disregard for the concerns of her constituents have only fueled public anger. This isn't just a political race, it's a referendum on her entire tenure. If the board doesn't show up, we are not able to handle the bills, one critic pointed out. And let's not forget the eviction lawsuit. Henyard and her boyfriend, Kay Woods, are facing eviction for unpaid rent. Their landlord, Janetta Hall, a former friend of Henyard's, described the situation as a very hard position between a rock and a hard place. This seemingly minor detail highlights a larger issue, Henyard's disregard for responsibility and accountability. It's a microcosm of her leadership style, chaotic, irresponsible, and ultimately self-serving. Beyond the financial scandals and public disapproval, Henyard's leadership has been described as autocratic and manipulative, further alienating both residents and local officials. Multiple sources have reported instances where Tiffany Henyard has used the police department to intimidate opponents and silence dissent. Dolton trustee Kay Belcher claimed that former Dolton Police Chief Robert Collins admitted to being directed by Henyard to target specific individuals. These allegations paint a picture of a mayor more interested in maintaining power than serving the needs of her community. The constant presence of a large security detail, often paid for with taxpayer money, further underscores the perception of a mayor who prioritizes her own safety and security over the needs of her constituents. The cost of this security detail, reportedly exceeding $1 million, is a staggering sum for a small town already struggling financially. You must show up to your scheduled board meetings. I don't care if you agree or disagree, but you must show up to say yes or no or vote, Henyard declared, further showcasing the irony of her situation. While she postures as a strong leader, her actions consistently undermine her credibility. Lavish spending, questionable contracts, and constant legal battles all contribute to the perception of a mayor who is increasingly out of touch with the realities faced by her constituents. For the average Dolton resident, the fact that Tiffany Henyard is simultaneously running for re-election while facing eviction for unpaid rent only amplifies the perception of hypocrisy. It creates a stark contrast between her self-proclaimed image as a powerful and effective leader and the reality of a mayor struggling to manage her own personal finances, let alone the town's mayor Tor Burgess of the town. This dissonance between her public persona and private life has eroded any remaining public trust. Recent court reversals of some of Henyard's staffing decisions further highlight the weakening of her authority. A Cook County court invalidated her appointments of Michael Smith as executive assistant and special counsel, which is not a minor setback but a significant blow to her already fragile power base. These rulings demonstrate the extent to which her decisions are being questioned, not just by the public, but by the courts as well.
Do not show up. We are not able to pay bills. We are not able to handle the business.
The repeated cancellations of Thornton Township meetings due to trustee absences highlight the deep divisions within the local government and the strategic efforts of trustees Christopher Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle to block Supervisor Tiffany Henyard's attempts to consolidate power. By deliberately withholding their attendance, they deny Henyard the quorum needed to proceed with official business. Gonzalez and Carlisle have made it clear that their distrust of Henyard runs deep. Their actions reflect not just political maneuvering, but a calculated effort to prevent what they view as an overreach of authority and a lack of transparency in her leadership. A critical point of contention is Henyard's push to appoint a replacement for the trustee seat left vacant after Jerry Jones's resignation. Gonzalez and Carlisle argue that the appointment should be left to the voters, especially with mayor to become self-improving and grow to become owners of their township. Elections approaching rather than rushed through by Henyard. By refusing to attend meetings until the deadline passes and the appointment process defaults to a public vote, the trustees aim to ensure that the community, rather than Henyard alone, has a say in who fills this crucial role. The repeated failure to achieve a quorum not only stalls township business, but also amplifies the growing tensions surrounding Henyard's leadership.
Stopping the meeting. We just want to get some responsible adults, communication and try to do the right thing by this.
Logistics, but because two trustees
The repeated cancellations of meetings not only stall operations, but also highlight the depth of the rift within the board. Each canceled session signals a broader governance issue where mistrust, power struggles, and competing visions for the future of the township have left residents caught in the crossfire. Henyard, on the other hand, has accused the trustees of sabotaging progress and holding the township hostage for personal and political gain. In fiery public statements and social media posts, she frames their absence as a betrayal of the community's needs, accusing them of neglecting their duties to further their own agendas. However, critics argue that Henyard's leadership style, marked by accusations of financial mismanagement, authoritarian tactics, and prioritizing loyalty over qualifications, has eroded trust and created a toxic political environment. The standoff between Henyard and the trustees reflects a larger crisis of governance in Thornton Township, where the inability to find common ground has paralyzed decision-making and left critical issues unresolved with each canceled meeting. The township remains in a state of gridlock, unable to address fundamental matters such as budget approvals, policy renewals, and community initiatives. This ongoing impasse highlights not only the personal and political tensions within the board, but also the urgent need for leadership that prioritizes transparency, collaboration, and the community's best interests. As the election draws nearer, the stakes continue to rise, with residents growing more frustrated by the lack of progress and the apparent inability of their leaders to work together for the greater good.